Listen close, my sweet daughter. I'll tell you the story of our ancestors' struggles and the ode to their glory. You'll love all the stuff in this tale, I know. It's got heroes and miracles and crispy potato. In ancient Judea near the Temple Mount, conquerors kept conquering more than counters could count. The Greek Seleucids were the latest of these. The year was BCE in the middle 160s. Now, the Greeks worshiped gods like Zeus and Poseidon, while the Jews, of course, prayed to no god beside one. And that went on just fine while the old king reigned. He was named Antiochus, the third with that name. Then the fourth came along and was kind of a jerk. And he said, having more than one faith just won't work. He proclaimed through the land, in the low parts and highs, I decree that the Jews must become Hellenized. And all of a sudden, the things Jews used to do were, legally speaking, completely taboo. They could not celebrate every week on Shabbat. They could not circumcise every male Jewish tot. They could not eat kosher bagels with cream cheese and lox, not with a fox in a box or many times on their fox. When the Jews studied Torah and the king's soldiers came, they had to pretend they were just playing games. They answered their doors and invited inspection while cleverly spinning some keen misdirection. At the dreidels they twirled, today we still stare, and print on the sides, a great miracle happened there. Because finally one day, with the Jews long oppressed, they decided enough was enough of this mess. A dad and his sons, of which there were 5, put freedom and liberty ahead of their lives. They moved into caves in the hills out of town and plotted away to get back at the crown. When old Mattathias' strength finally petered, his son Judah picked up the torch as their leader. With the strength of a hammer, he was called Maccabee, shouting, whoever is for the Lord, follow me. My friends, he declared in a confident voice, the people God chose must now make a choice. Do we fight for the way of life that we lead, or do we lose faith and fade out with great speed? We can stand strong together or fall apart, guaranteed. Meanwhile, the army the king had compiled climbed the great Temple Mount, and soon it was defiled. They busted inside and they burgled and looted. They sacrificed pigs and were rather jackbooted. The Maccabees were outraged and knew they must hurry, so they ramped up their plans and their strategery. But they kept coming up against one scary truth. The Greeks had elephants with huge trunks and sharp tooths. No one wanted to say it, for it spelled certain doom. You could call it the unspoken thing in the room. Then one Maccabee winked an excited wink, and he said, Holy Moses, I've had a great think. We may only have handmade swords and some rocks, but all we need to do is creep up in our socks. We'll sneak under the beasts, and we'll thrust up our knives, and then we'll tuck and roll to escape with our lives. So that's what they did, and believe it or not, they beat each pachyderm and each chariot. Then once the dust settled and the Jews could take stock, they rushed to their temple and received quite a shock. The place was in shambles to the left and the right, and the Greeks had blown out the eternal flame's light. The Jews got to work to fix up what was broken, and they cleaned and they polished as their prayers were spoken. There was only one thing that still needed doing after all of the painting and sanding and gluing. The menorah must be relit, everyone knew, but there was oil for just one night and not 2. Nevertheless, the lamp once again burned, and despite the low level of fuel in their urn, the Jews were amazed as they waited each wait that the flame glowed a crazy number of nights, namely 8. This gave enough time for more olives to be pressed. Then they took the new oil to the priest to be blessed. With the temple back open, great joy did abound, and the Jews cut the ribbon on their re-hallowed ground. So there came to be each year at this season a day to rejoice at our ancestors' reason, to give thanks for the miracle that led to elation for their temple Hanukkah, which means dedication. On this day, we light candles to bask in our freedom, adding one for each night and one more just to lead them. We eat foods fried in oil, and while that can get greasy, compared to long ago, our tasks almost seem easy. Stand up for what's right and speak truth to power. Don't just watch and stay silent like a wilted wallflower. Be blessed by the miracles, the ancient and newish, that surround all of us, both Goyim and Jewish. Forget us versus them and ours versus theirs. Just count each night's soft lights and our lucky stars. And oh, my sweet child, may you dodge strife and bothers. But if they come, keep your faith and help others. Also put on a sweater when the weather gets cold. That's what big parents say. I'll explain when you're older. Keep our traditions, but be your own girl as you make your way through our complex world. And wherever you go and whatever you do, know that I love your mommy and we both love you. Happy Hanukkah.